Morning Football. Bass Pro Shops is our show sponsor. We are live in New York City, Thursday, September 26th. My name is Kay Adams, Nate Burles, and Peter Schrager, and Kyle Brandt. We have a whole other hour?
Oh,
goodness. Let's do it. And hit the lead block.
Lead block. Lead block.
It's Packers. We have Stacey Dales with us. She's at Lambeau early this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us all day on GMFB. Let's talk Packers defense. They've been given a lot of credit for their 3-0 start. Most of the credit, really. What can you tell us about linebacker Blake Martinez and his role in their success?
Well, just so impressive to me now in his fourth season, Kay. We've talked so much about the Smiths, Preston Smith, Darius Smith, the improved secondary, but the green dot, the guy in the middle of this defense, the quarterback, if you will, Blake Martinez, he has been a tackling machine, and I spent some time with him this week, actually, after their Broncos win. And as I talked to him, I said, man, you've been so aggressive this year, and first to the ball on so many occasions. What were your goals? And he reached back into his pocket, guys, and he pulled out his wallet. And I thought, what's he going to show me? And he pulled out a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, and you'll see it here, is a list of 23 goals that he wrote down and came up with this offseason. Personal goals, football goals, a few of them that stood out to me that, you know, he wanted this Packers team to make the playoffs. Well, anytime the Packers have started the season 3-0, they've made the playoffs. Another big goal was, I want to lead the league in tackles. He is currently first in solo tackles. He has 23 of them, but he is fifth in total tackles. Luke Kuechly's at the top of that list. He has 32 total tackles, and among the other players on that list, Jordan Hicks, Thomas Davis, Bobby Wagner. So a pretty good group to be a part of there, and he is on track, by the way, because another one of his goals was to have, for the third straight season, 140 or more tackles. He's on pace, guys, to have about 171 tackles. He's averaging about 11 per game. His best mark was last year with 144 tackles, and among the other stuff, I just was so impressed. Grow closer with God, be a better father, be a better husband, just, you know, be a better, best version of myself. And so for a player to share that with me, these are the moments that I treasure in this league, because there are so many great men and great players, and this is a special one for the Green Bay Packers and Blake Martinez.
Stacey, we're all inspired here. That was an awesome nugget. You got the picture of the list and everything. That was great, great stuff. Blake, of course, part of this Packers defense that, let's be honest, it's a tough draw for the Eagles. What makes this defense so good? How is Philly game planning for Green Bay?
Yeah, great question, Kyle. Just the disguising, and talking to Doug Peterson, the head coach with these Eagles this week, he was almost emphatic in his praise for this defense. The number 2 scoring defense. They have 8 takeaways. They are manufacturing opportunities for the offense, but the multiplicity of it. He said on first down, Peterson did, second down, third down, they present so many different looks. It's different personnel groupings, different fronts, different coverage looks. And it has caused fits for offensive linemen, for running backs, and even veteran quarterbacks. We just saw Joe Flacco here with the Broncos. Of course, Kirk Cousins a couple of weeks ago. And you might see what looks like a blitz, but all of a sudden, some of those front 7 guys, they drop back into coverage. So with all that disguise, it has posed problems. And in talking to these Packers, they love it. They love what Mike Pettin, the energy he has brought, and what he is doing schematically with them, and that he's trusting them in terms of executing this defense. And guess what? Tramon Williams said we have speed at the front, in the middle, and in the back. Guys, they can rush with 4. Which really shores up what they're going to do in coverage and with the secondary. So just so many options really for this group, and they are playing energized under Mike Pettin.
It'll be a good one tonight on NFL Network. Stacey, it's like a cool 15-and-a-half-hour drive from Green Bay to New York. Why don't you come visit us soon?
Sure.
Hey, is that an invitation? I mean, anytime you guys ask.
Yeah. 1,000%. Stacey Davis needs to be on Good Morning Football. It's Thursday Night Football. She's right now, of course, at Lambeau for all of the action. It's Eagles ready to take flight. The Packers looking to make a statement in Green Bay. Eagles, Packers, we are all rivals here. It's tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on NFL Network, on Fox and Prime Video. I mean, I don't think that she's ever been on our show in studio.
No, she does the weekend show, but we've never had Stacey.
We got goals, too.
Yeah, Stacey Davis needs to be in studio. All right, it's time for Throwdown Thursday.
Okay.
Breaking down everything Philly, Green Bay. First up, 2 great quarterbacks leading the offenses tonight. I want to know who needs to have a better performance tonight, Wentz or Aaron Rodgers?
Go ahead, Peter. It's all you.
Carson Wentz. Rodgers has the defense. Rodgers' defense is looking like the 85 Bears right now. We talked about Blake Martinez and the entire build-up to this segment.
Right.
Blake is just one piece of a unit that is 3 levels deep. That defensive line is insane. Kenny Clark might be the best defensive tackle in football you don't talk about. Then you got the 2 outside guys, the Smith brothers. Hope Zadarius Smith plays tonight. And then on the back end, they've got all this young defensive back talent that looks electric. The Packers' defense is so good right now that Rodgers doesn't have to be superhuman Rodgers. He doesn't have to be MVP Rodgers. Carson Wentz, he's playing as good as he played his whole career, and yet they're 1-2. We need superhuman from Carson Wentz. I'm not sure the guys around him are playing as well. I'm going to go with Carson Wentz needs to be even better than he's been because Rodgers doesn't have to be with the way the Packers are playing.
Howie Roseman built a perfect house this season. This looked like a 13-3 house. The only concern was Wentz. The injury, the play, he was like the plumbing in the house because the plumbing runs the whole house. If the plumbing goes, you're screwed. Doesn't matter how nice your refrigerator is. Guys, the plumbing's been beautiful. It's running perfectly, great water pressure, perfectly clear. Guys, last week, 7 drops and 2 fumbles. Carson Wentz did his job. He's playing with that whole concern. He even left the game against Atlanta. The whole concern about is he going to get hurt? He did. And then he came back, and he was great and ready to lead them down the field. This house is failing the plumbing. He needs to have a great game. Rodgers can have 120 yards and 1 touchdown, and they can win this game. Wentz has 120 and touchdown, they lose by 15 points. Wentz has to be better.
I'll go a little bit different. I'll say Aaron Rodgers for the simple fact that it's bigger than this game. I know we're focused on the game and the outcome, but I feel like Aaron Rodgers is starting to creep back in that conversation as the best in the game. You remember for a while, we would always say, you know, he's really talented, but it's Tom Brady, it's Drew Brees. We were also saying Andrew Luck.
Sure, of course.
So now Luck's retired, Brees is hurt, Brady's still doing his thing, Ben Roethlisberger, he's out. Aaron Rodgers, can you take the crown back, being the best quarterback in the business? And it starts up against guys who were supposed to take his crown.
Okay.
So for me, I'm going to say better performance that has an impact on the narrative of the season and the narrative of his career, because this is a campaign for something much bigger. That next Super Bowl, the one that's been eluding him since he won his first one. So I'll say Aaron Rodgers.
But if you want Aaron Rodgers to be considered among the best quarterbacks by everyone watching, doesn't he have to throw touchdowns? Doesn't he have to bring this offense out of the bottom 5, which has been so far?
Yeah.
I like the way that they're winning. I think they'll be successful in that. Will they win the Super Bowl with a bottom 5 offense? Probably not. They need to get it rolling. But I feel like when we talk about legacy and returning to MVP caliber, 1.3 touchdowns a game, 215 passing yards a game, game manager, that word being flung around there by everyone, isn't going to cut it.
You're right about that, 100%.
Fair.
You got to pick it up, okay?
We'll see how they do. Next up, let's look at the defensive side of the ball. Phillies, Fletcher Cox. Always a force to be reckoned with. Green Bay's Preston Smith is one of the breakout defensive stars of the season so far. So, Kyle?
Yeah.
Which defensive player will cause more havoc tonight? Fletcher Cox or Preston Smith?
Don't you wreak havoc? Isn't havoc wreaked? I talked about this earlier this week. Fletcher Cox is from Mississippi State. He's a country dude. He likes fishing, ATVing, and all that stuff. He's mad this week. He called out an analyst who looked at some of his film. He called him a clown. He called him blind. It went on and on and on. And then the next tweet that followed, if we can roll it, I think says everything. Fletcher Cox doesn't usually play mad. I got time today. And if you go in the replies, it's all these people doing popcorn saying, I'm just here for the replies. Someone said, you got time, so does the quarterback you're rushing every time you guys go out there. So, Nate, could you translate what the gentleman saying, I got time today means?
Well, it's an old clip that was based off of 2 young kids about to fight.
Okay.
And this young white kid, he stepped up against this other dude and was like, I got time today. So basically, it all spurred from that. So basically, somebody says, I got time, that means I got time to be as petty as you want to be.
Okay.
I am on the top of Mount Petty. If you want to be petty with me, I got time today.
Packers O-line's been unassailable. Fletcher Cox, if you got time, Aaron Rodgers should not.
Yeah, look, Fletcher Cox is one of the best players in the sport.
Yeah.
Right? And last year, if you look at that, you could make the argument that if it wasn't for Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox might have been our defensive player of the year. I mean, he was that good. This year he hasn't been. And it's not only just in the numbers, it's in the film work. And let's call it like it is. They need him to be that guy because that defensive line has not applied any pressure to quarterbacks this year. So who will I see tonight and make a big... I do think it's Fletcher Cox. I think that stuff is galvanized, internalized. I said on the show yesterday, Kenny Clark, who's the defensive tackle for the Packers, might be playing better than Fletcher Cox. And I got a lot of heat from Eagles fans for that. I'm just telling you what I think is the case 3 weeks into the season. Fletcher Cox could be on path to Canton. He's that good. He's got to bring it tonight, and I think he will. Fletcher Cox is going to wake up, and let's go.
I'm in full agreement for Fletcher Cox because you look at that passing defense, they're giving up almost 300 yards a game. So that D-line, Kay, you've talked about over the last couple of days, they have to get
Two
after
sacks
the
all
quarterback.
year.
Because that back end, you put your DBs in a bad position when they're sitting there. They have to cover for 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 seconds when receivers are running double moves. So they have to get after the quarterback.
You've got Devontae Adams out there hungry for a touchdown. Finally, let's do a little battle of the Bradleys, shall we?
Okay. Yeah.
Famous guys from their respective cities. In one corner, Philly's very own Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
And these repping Wisconsin, and repping Wisconsin is Madison native Bradley Whitford. Oh, that's a tough one. Who's the better Bradley?
I love some Whitford. I go back with Whitford all the way to Adventures in Babysitting when he mistreated Elizabeth Shue and had to pay for it at the end of the movie. But it's Cooper, guys. I bought into A Star Is Born. Not the singing, not the guitar playing. He changed his entire voice, and there's a scene he goes nose to nose with Sam Elliott, and it's like they have a competition of who can lower their voice the most, which is like having a throwing competition with Mahomes. Elliott is the voice GOAT, and I think Cooper wins it. I love Whitford. I got to go Cooper. I got to go Cooper.
I don't know who Bradley Whitford is, but I know who Eric Gordon is in the movie Billy Madison.
Talk about it.
And that guy is winning any contest against anyone except for Billy Madison, who beats him in the final scene, obviously. Love Bradley Whitford. What a career. West Wing, I see you. I'm not here for that shame, Kyle. No.
Okay, Brad.
I'm going with Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
And if you think about his movies in Aaron Rodgers, it makes sense because when we first saw him, we knew that a star was born because his talent was limitless.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they won the Super Bowl, and then they had that hangover ever since. But the silver lining is that they might have an A-team. So what's the end game? You get a ring like Thanos. You feel me?
Hey.
Unless it's not in.
Whitford, though, is in Get Out. Doesn't that
He
buy
is.
us?
You're getting
Say.
air taps from everybody in the crew right now.
He did mention A-team as a good thing for Bradley Cooper. I don't know if that wins.
Whitford in Get Out says, I voted for Obama twice.
Yes.
Florida Morning Football ahead. Jay Gruden speaking out about who'll be his starting quarterback on Sunday. Case Keenum spotted Keenum Boot. Will they give the rookie the go? There is another option. We'll fill you in. And the holdout is over, but when will we see Melvin Gordon back on the field?
Let's do it. Let's go,
Look at
Melvin.
this player. Have you seen